Good afternoon, it's Gary Sly and the Legacy of Handmade Objects. It's Monday afternoon, March 30th, 2026. Things are warming up quite a bit here in Florida. I was out doing some errands today, was at the county seat and the laundromat and different things along the way, and had a busy morning. Shop's open on Monday afternoons now from 1 to 5. I got a lot of things happening in the next month or so. Verdivin, the plant shop that is around in the old carriage house, is celebrating their 1-year anniversary. Got Chrissy Morgan and finally a farm girl moving in to space here in the main shop. Real excited about that. She's going to have a grand opening and a ribbon cutting on May the 2nd. I've got a retreat coming up on that day. There's going to be traditional crafters here around in various spaces in and around the building. And I've got a stitchers retreat that day as well. So looking forward to a whole lot of stuff happening. And then of course that Sunday is the opening reception for Margaret Everson's one-woman show. Margaret is a wonderful local artist who has recently been spending a whole lot of time in slow stitching and fiber work. My topic for today is one that I've been kind of musing over the last few weeks, and that's the value of routine. And I don't know, that probably sounds like a boring topic, and maybe that's the point, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the value of routine for emotional health, and then also maybe lap over and talking a little bit about what it means for this hobby that we love, which involves fiber work. I think if you're getting older, at least you can do is learn. And I think it's useful for me as I have begun to grow a little bit older and maybe have 70 years coming up in a bit here, in a few years. One of the things I've come to understand and actually come to appreciate is the value of routine. Now, when I was younger, routine seemed like a bad word to me. Routine seemed like boring. It seemed like same old, same old. Certainly marketers and commercials and the capital world that we're in is always pushing us to escape routines and do something that's exciting. But as I've grown older, and especially as I've established the shop here and spent a lot of time with the people in this community, I've come to really appreciate the value of routines, daily routines, weekly routines, regular intervals of things that are similar. And the reason I find those so much more comforting than I used to is because the real world is just crazy hectic. No matter what I seem to do, I always have 3 times more to do. I won't say that I rush around a whole lot. I've slowed down a little bit as well as I've gotten older, but when I think about what comes along in the course of a week and all the different kinds of challenges and expectations that are there, when I look at the world, when I think about a war going on or various wars going on in different parts of the world and unrest and just kind of so much of what we see in the news surrounding us that is hectic and crazy and sometimes frightening, I've come to really appreciate routines. You know, I love that cup of coffee just about the same time every morning. Generally, I get up around 7. I've kind of conditioned myself to sort of wake up around that time. And my cup of coffee in the morning is one of those routines that I cherish. The other thing that I always do in the morning, and I'm pretty grumpy if I don't get to do it, is spend about an hour stitching in the morning. And true, I do have to let my eyes adjust a little bit and kind of wake up a bit before I can do much. But that's one of those routines that I've come to really cherish because it kind of sets the tone for the whole rest of the day for me. And again, for me, as I've grown older, there are routines that I've come to stick to. I like watering my ferns on the front porch towards the end of the workday every day. I like the routines of the shop, turning on the lights and opening doors and putting my new awning out and getting things ready for the day. And the same thing at the end of the day. I enjoy the routines. And I guess for me, they've come to be a comfort in a storm, a time when I can expect things to be a certain way. And the reason I think this is so valuable for us as we think about stitching and handwork and all that sort of stuff is the very routine or the very rhythm that especially handwork brings to us. You've heard me talk a bit recently about slow stitching. It's a pretty significant movement in the fiber community where people kind of stitch in a mindful manner. They find materials that they enjoy, they find colors and textures that they like, and there's no particular schedule, there's no particular finish of a particular project. Sometimes you kind of feel like maybe you're done, and then other times you may want to add a little bit more to it. And I've got a great group that meets here on Wednesday nights now under Margaret Everson's leadership that have really begun to expand this whole idea of mindful embroidery or slow stitching. Maybe it's not quite as routinized as some of the other kind of crafts that we have, but it certainly lends itself well to finding a space and a spot where you can just sit and take a needle and thread and make some stitches. I know that I've been drawn to counted cross stitch through the years also because of the rhythm and the routine of it. There's not anything real terribly complicated about making X's on a piece of fabric. You go in the same direction every time. Backstitch maybe is frustrating for some people because it breaks that routine. But it's always been marvelous to me with cross stitch to be able to start with a blank canvas and see something emerge over a period of time. I don't like any kind of stamped items, except maybe crewel embroidery and some of those kind of things where you kind of need an image in order to work from. For me, stamped cross stitch and some of the kind of older concepts that people used way back are not as satisfying for me. So here's what I want to say about that. I have people easily once or twice a week in the shop who say, how in the world do you have the patience to do something like that? You all know my great big cross stitch castle there on the mantle. I think you can probably kind of see it. It's quite large and represented a good number of stitches. If you know much about those Riola's kits, you know they use wool threads, and so it really covered quite easily, and it didn't take it anywhere near as long as it looked like it was going to take. But I like a lot of full coverage work, which is lengthy and which does take a while. And people will say to me so often, how do you find the patience to do that? Well, I'd like to kind of flip that on its head. How comforting is it for me to have something that is that routine? Now, yes, I know there's counting and there's figuring, and especially when you start out, it's kind of frustrating because you got to get the center or you got to figure out where you're going to start your pattern and all that sort of stuff. But see, that's where the patience comes in. I have to have patience to do what I need to do to get a project started. After that, it's not patience. It's soothing and it's comforting. And it's something that allows me to dive into the work. Yeah, sure, I'm distracted or I have to get up and go do something, but I grumble whenever I have to do that. If I've settled in and I'm happily stitching, it takes quite a bit to get me to get up and go do something else. And so, you know, I guess I get a little, well, it surprises me when people say, how do you have that kind of patience? I don't have that kind of patience. I'm very impatient in normal circumstances. I don't tailgate people or do anything ugly on the road, but I'm pretty impatient with slow drivers. There's a lot of aspects of routine in life that I'm not that comfortable with. Trying to call a major corporation on the phone and get an answer to a question, or try to work yourself through the steps to do some kind of an online application or something like that, and you know that your patience will be tried. There's no question about that. Those are not fun, and I'm not a patient guy. And it still surprises me when somebody says you must have a great deal of patience. For me, cross stitch and handwork and any kind of handmade kind of routine that requires doing things step by step by step builds patience, teaches patience, encourages patience rather than taxing my ability to be patient. So for me, one of the most soothing routines that I use is cross stitch. I said to somebody, I think it was yesterday here in the shop, cross stitch literally got me through some tough times in my life. We've all had moments when there's a lot of stress, when there's a lot of stuff going on around us, and frequently we are in situations where those events that are happening around us are not within our control. We're being pulled and shoved, or we're being maligned, or somebody's saying something ugly about us, or the negatives can go on forever. There's all kinds of those. But I can literally say that there have been times in my life when sitting down with a needle and thread and finding a pattern that I enjoy playing with, more complicated the better for me, because it forces me to get down into that and let some of that other stuff go. Those techniques and the style of cross stitch that I enjoy have literally carried me through some of the worst times in my life. The value of routine for me is more and more evident the longer I find myself busy and stressed and worrying about the routines or worrying about the things that I can't control around me. So, I'm just kind of musing today. I don't have anything really important to talk about. You may feel like I'm rambling a little bit, so I think it's probably better for me to find a minute to stop here. But really do consider the routines in your life that you enjoy, and don't see those as negatives. Don't let somebody make you think that a routine that is comforting and helpful to you and that keeps you on track is anything but useful, because routines really are kind of little buffers that we set up around us, that we have control over, that help us to deal with the complexities and the lack of control that may surround us in the rest of the world. I hope you have a peaceful day, a peaceful week. I hope that you find some routines and some strategies that will allow you to enjoy this coming week. It's Holy Week coming up, and for many, many people around the world, that's an important motivation, and there's wonderful images and thoughts that surround that. And I wish everybody a happy Easter if you celebrate that. As always, this is Gary Sly, and it's the legacy of Handmade Objects.